All right, I think we're on. We should be live. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Victor Betts. I am the Student Success Librarian for Special Collections here at NC State University Libraries. Today I'll be showing you the basics of how to search and navigate through the digital platforms of the Special Collections Research Center, which is completely open access to the public, digital stuff at least. And so the goal of today is to really introduce you to archival research, if you're totally new to this, or a nice refresher for any seasoned researchers out there. So with that, let's begin with the Special Collections website. And here is one of the blogs you're looking at, and this is actually the main page or the home page of Special Collections. And so there's a couple of ways you can get to our page, right? So the first way is if you just go to the main libraries page. Here it is. So if you're familiar with this, lib.ncsu.edu. It'll take you to the libraries page, and if you want to go to Special Collections, just hover over the About. Oops, it's a little tricky, and then just click on Special Collections, and it'll take you there. Or you can just type in lib.ncsu.edu/SCRC, and that'll also take you to our webpage too. And also, if you happen to follow us on social media, like Twitter, you can also just click on the link and it'll take you to our homepage there. So first, I want to give you all a quick tour, sort of a lay of the land of how the Special Collections website looks like, and kind of see the different components and other online resources that you will come across, and how to use them, right? And so the Special Collections web homepage, it's pretty simple. It's kind of like a two-column design. The first is the left-hand navigation stuff, and this is really cool or very helpful to find certain things and kind of go to different places on our website. And then this main area here, I think the first is the search bar. And this search really produces really diverse, it populates really diverse results. So not only will it look and try to find things that pertains to your keyword within Special Collections, but it just looks at the entire library's database too. So it's a really, on the term on the spectrum of granularity, it's like really, really broad, right? And then the next section or component of the web page is the Special Collections news blogs. And a quick pro tip: the blogs is where you'll find some of the most updated information on current projects, as well as new resources and interesting materials from Special Collections. Right. So, for example, just scrolling down really quickly here. We have reparative archival descriptions in Special Collections, which recently launched, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We always publicize any new collection guides that are available and have been recently processed. So, for example, in this blog here, you'll see that there's a new collection guide for the GLBT records here on campus. This is a really cool one. This mapping visualization of architecture collections at Special Collections here at NC State, which was developed by Shima, who is a student employee here at Special Collections. So take a look at that. Her project is really interesting because it really sort of combines Special Collections and digital humanities and data and visualization all together. So take a look at that. Especially really cool for public history information if you're interested in that. Let's see. So that's the major components, and now I'll probably go talk to you about the different components in the left-hand navigation. So the home page, of course, wherever you go, if you just click on home, it'll take you back to this main page here. Use materials. Let's go ahead and click that. And so let's say you're brand new, or you just want to look at if you want to look at some of the materials here in Special Collections, this page will show you our hours. And right now, because of COVID, and especially with the Omicron surge right now, all of our services in terms of looking at the materials are appointment only. So you have to schedule an appointment to come see. And currently right now, we are mainly serving campus affiliates. So if you're an undergraduate, graduate student, staff member, faculty, or any other affiliates, we'll definitely sort of prioritize that. And then we'll kind of look at a case-by-case situation in terms of any other researchers who are interested in looking at our collections. And by the way, throughout today's streaming, I'm going to be using the word researchers, but for us here at Special Collections at NC State, researchers really includes everybody that accesses our materials, right? So not only do campus affiliates not only are campus affiliates like students, faculty, employees, or researchers, anybody who wants to take a look at our Special Collections. So if you're a community member, if you're a researcher from out of state or out of the country, or just curious of looking at stuff, we just consider you a researcher, right? So I know some archives might be very specific when they use the word researchers, but for us, it's just any user, anybody who really wants to get their hands on our materials. So I'll be using researchers. And then you can take a look at more of our logistical information, so appointments, schedules, where we're located. We are located, our main Special Collections office is located here at DHL Junior Library. And then we also have an off-site storage section that really houses a lot of our collections, and where we do a lot of our processing as well too. And if you're new to the libraries, or if you're even new to the Special Collections, here's a really great direction and parking and direction. So you can actually give you walking instructions on how to get to the reading room. And the reading room is where you actually, after you make the appointment and they give you the okay to come, you can actually sit and interact and take a look at the physical materials. And then at any point, if you're looking through our collection guides or finding aids, you can always request materials right beforehand. So you want to make sure you request materials beforehand, make an appointment, and then there's a bunch of instructions you have to read through and be prepared for before you visit. So please make sure to you follow all of our protocols in order to see our materials. And of course, if at any point you need research assistance, here are various topics, including our collecting areas, which we'll get into a little bit, duplication services, copyright stuff, which is really huge whenever you're working with primary sources, and also our simple contact us, so our phone number, our email, etc. Okay, so if you want to use our materials to teach, if you're a faculty member, if you're a staff member who might want to be interested in putting on a program that deals with historical records or campus history, or if you're a faculty member that wants to really get their students to interact with archival materials and primary sources, we are always happy to collaborate with faculty and staff members here to do that. And myself, along with my colleagues in Special Collections, do numerous instructions with archival materials. So please do reach out to us if you're interested in using Special Collections in your curriculum in any way. Let's see here. So here, and this is an easy button too. Like if you're just wanting to request an instruction, go ahead and click there, and there'll be like a field where you can just populate your responses there. And then here are some examples of past collaborations that we've done. So there's like teaching creative writing with archives, Asian and Asian American history at NC State, which was one of my projects that we've incorporated into an instruction with a faculty member here on campus, as well as, we use a lot of campus history, obviously, when it comes to sort of looking at primary sources, getting the students to really touch the object and kind of get a feel. and get comfortable, right? Essentially, to making sure that they can really include archives and primary sources into their educational and even personal sort of landscape or repertoire. So yeah, take a look at those at your own time. And donate materials. And if you're not familiar, so archives, we have specific collecting areas, which we'll get into again, as I mentioned earlier. But just because we're an archive doesn't mean we collect everything and anything, right? We are selective, and everything does go through sort of a vetting process or a triage process. So make sure to contact us beforehand, before you bring things to donate to us, and making sure that it sort of falls within our collecting scope. Okay, so this is kind of our mission, our purpose, Special Collections. So we're really here to support the research and teaching needs of the university community and other scholars by collecting, housing, and providing access to special collections that are unique and often irreplaceable. We have things from the 19th century, early 19th century to the current times in terms of campus history, images, manuscripts, all kinds of documents that really pertains to NC State, which is really cool. Which sort of is a nice segue into our collections, right? And so the university archives is everything and anything that deals with the campus's history. So that includes administrative documents, images, and any sort of material, any sort of primary sources we house and store and preserve here. And if you are a employee here at NC State and you're curious about transferring your departmental records here to us, here are some links there, as you can see right here. Or you can just contact us, and we'll be happy to kind of talk to you about our retention schedules and how to kind of get those documents over to us. Let's see. Next is our collecting areas, as I mentioned earlier. And so here at NC State, since we are a land grant institution and it really was primarily a agricultural and engineering university, we have our collecting area sort of pertains to that, to those fields, right? So we have agriculture, animal rights and welfare, which is really cool. We are the first and only so far, I think, special collections or archives in the nation that really collects animal rights and welfare materials. So that's pretty cool. We also collect in architecture and design, engineering, of course, entomology. Our brand spanking new collection area that we just added recently is environmental justice, which we are all very excited about. So please take a look at that, and that we're going to be developing, preserving, collecting all things dealing with environmental justice. Forestry, landscape, architecture, NC State history, as I mentioned earlier, plant and crop sciences, textiles, which is really huge, vet med, and of course we have a huge college about that, and zoological health. So as you can see, I think when people think of archives, they might even think of books, rare books, right, and things like that. And we do have a little, but that's not our number one specialty, right? So our partner institutions like Chapel Hill or Duke Special Collections, really that's more of their, especially Duke, is more of their collecting areas of rare books, rare and unique books like that. So whenever someone is interested in a specific type of material that we do not collect, we're more than happy to really refer that researcher to the specific special collections or archive. So that's how that works. Let's see. So the next tab is our collection guides. Now, collection guides is what we call is a term that we use here at NC State Special Collections, and other archives it might be called finding aids, right? So finding aids and collection guides, it's very similar, the same thing. And the purpose of the collection guides is really to give you a quick summary of each collection, so you know like what's in it, what's like the historical context, what's the biography, how much of a material we have in terms of content, and even like linear square feet, all that kind of stuff. So it's really sort of the metadata or the background information of every collection that we store and house here in special collections. And we'll get into that a little bit more. We'll actually go through a collection guide. Next is our digitized collection, and this is really cool. One of my go-tos when I teach with this. Our rare and unique digital collections. We have a really awesome digitization team here, and they really do a great job of processing and making sure that everything's accessible and open to everybody, right? So you don't, some archives might be very limited as to who they provide access to the archives. For us, all of our digital material, like if you have internet, like you'll have access to it. So we really try to really be open and transparent in terms of our digitized materials that we do store here. Is it possible to zoom in on the website? Yeah, thanks for asking. And let me see if I can zoom in. Let me see. Is that better? Let's see. Hopefully that's better for you. Okay, awesome. Perfect. Okay, so this is our rare and unique digital collections, as I mentioned before. And here's a quick search bar. So you can type in your keyword there and it'll look just within our digital collections. And then you see on the main column here, we have categories and subcategories. So there's a really cool place for our researchers to kind of take a look. Like if you're just browsing or you're just curious or you really don't know, what you're looking for, this might be a really great start for you. So the first category is university history, and then sort of broken down into like in campus and town, people, sports, agromech yearbook, Nubian message, wolf tales, which is our oral history, or a version of oral history, wolf tales. I'll talk about that later on as well too, as well as university archives photograph. Our second category is built environment, as I mentioned earlier. One of our collecting areas is in architecture and design. So you'll find lots of cool stuff here in terms of architecture, landscape, NC modern. So modernism design is really popular here in North Carolina. So we have a lot of that too. So you'll find blueprints, you'll find images, you'll find drawings, you'll find just huge different types of like print materials and sizes available here at Special Collections. Our next category is agriculture, forestry, and extension, which is really cool. So a lot of photos, images, manuscripts, and things like that. So check that out. And on the left hand here is what we call the facets here, right? So, and it's kind of really similar to a lot of things when you really want to basically be more specific with your search finds, right? So, kind of if you're really familiar with online shopping, you'll probably kind of come here and really change the granularity of your results, right? So you'll have like the topics here, decades, right? You'll have buildings, locations. Another helpful facet for me is like, original format and formats, or subjects or topics. Those are really helpful stuff. And then we'll actually do a quick walkthrough of how to search to do this as well. So for now, I'm gonna go back. Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna copy the blogs that I mentioned earlier. Sorry, I didn't do that earlier. So the first one is about repetitive archival description. The second one is about one of the new collection guides that we process here. And then this one was Shima's project on mapping. I can get this mouse over. What else? Yeah, that's good for now. All right, so we just finished taking a quick look at the digitized collections. And the administrative service annex. This is the thing I was talking about earlier about the offsite storage. So we have an offsite storage area where we keep a lot of our materials, and then that's housed in temperature controlled areas, and then with humidity control and everything like that. So it's good to go and accessible, and a lot of our processing happens. So when we get new materials, that's where we process those. And also our little quick contact sections. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that. I'll take you to like a form, our phone number, our staff directory, and our Twitter page. So all of our blogs also get sort of tweeted there. So if you're a Twitter user, please follow us on Twitter. You'll get the latest blogs as well. And then, for us, I think, not to toot our own horn, but compared to other archives, we are really responsive in terms of our emails and things. So really, our staff does an amazing job at really trying to get to your emails within 24 to 48 hours with any questions you might have. So happy about that. Okay, so before we go any further too, I may be using some archival terms that might be, like archival lingo. So if you have any questions about that, please be sure to enter that into the chat, and I'll probably take a look. But I also wanted to point out this really great blog that one of our colleagues here, Taylor, who made a blog about archival terms explained. So, this is a really great place for you, especially if you plan to use archives a lot, or to kind of incorporate archival research into your academics or research. Great place to kind of start and get familiar with the terms. And then there's also a part 2 version of that again, which is really helpful. And let me just say too, all archives are not created equal. And what that means is basically every archives has their own culture, their own protocols, their rules, of course, the collecting areas, what type of people they serve, all that kind of stuff, right? Different stakeholders. And so, more archaic or traditional archives might be very difficult in terms of accessing the materials, right? Because they, might want to, they might request like, your ID and who are, to do a little quick background check on you, and or, they might only serve a specific clientele. So, but here at NC State, even the fact that we're also like a public institution, and in general, is that we really try to eliminate as much barriers as possible, so we can really give our researchers access to our materials the best we can. So that's one of the cool things I want to share about. But yeah, take a look, read those blog articles about terms at your leisure. Okay, so I am going to now do a quick walkthrough of our collection guides. I want to make sure I'm on topic and I didn't miss anything. Yep, perfect, cool. So let's go back to our collection guides. So here is the landing page when you click on collection guides. And again, the collection guides is finding aids. So let's say, you just want to see if, one, we have any materials pertaining to this keyword that you're looking for, and two, I want to learn a little bit more about what they are before I kind of do a deeper dive. So let's say, for example, you are an an architecture or design student, maybe. Okay, and you were interested in Phil Freeland, who is a local, really famous architect from North Carolina. So you saw that I typed in Freeland and hit enter into the keyboard. So this is a result that I got. And first one is the Phil Freeland oral history. So we have a video and audio-video recording of Interviewing Phil Freeland, as well as the Phil Freeland papers, from 1975 to 2019. So that means that oftentimes when you see the title, you can see the components here, right? So you see the title, you'll see the date of the materials that we have. So for example, this this oral history occurred in 2017 on May 8th, and it's a 13 gigs file. You can see the collection ID, and then you hit a quick little bio. We also have the Phil Freeland papers, so we have materials that are dated from 1975 to 2019, and this we have a 238.125 linear feet of materials, which translates to 153 archival boxes, 4 legal boxes, 1 legal half box, etc. So you see the breakdown of what we have, right? And we also have, it looks like there's a 10 gig material as well too, as well as the collection ID. And if you're interested in any of our materials and you want to sort of actually request to look at them, the collection ID is really important, so make sure you collect not only the title but also the collection ID. Okay, so let's say this Phil Freeland papers is something you're interested in because one, it looks like it's close. It looks like it's right on the money with the topic, as well as the largest collection that we have so far. So let's click on this really quickly. So this is what the collection guide looks like when you find a specific one. In the first tab here, you'll see the summary, and the creator right here is Freeland, which means that the materials were donated by him, or was actually created by. He was the originator of the materials that's in the collection, right? And again, the call number again. Make sure you get that because that's super important. And you'll see here a quick summary of what the Phil Freeland paper consists of. And you can see here really quickly architectural drawings, project files, records, and some highlighted projects that Phil Freeland worked on here, right? So like the Durham Bulls Athletic Park. And just in case you all are not familiar with Phil Freeland, he also helped design lots of museums, such as the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture in D.C. He also, if you know, and he also designed a Lake Johnson boathouse as well too. If you've been there in person, what's really cool about Phil Freeland is that he's African American architect who really was motivated and has visions to really design things that will be used by people, and sort of empowers and brings some sort of benefit to humanity, right? So like libraries, museums, athletic parks and things like that. So it's really cool individual, and of course well known in the architecture field. So next is the biographical historical notes. So that's a little bit what I talked about earlier. I'm going to give him a quick synopsis of his life. And then the scope and content basically gives you an idea of the range and the types of materials that pertain to Phil Freeland and his work, the materials that we have here, right? And then next is really cool to know is how are the materials arranged here in special collections. So you can see here that, and let me make this screen bigger so you all can see it too. So you can see here an arrangement that we have arranged them into 5 series, right? So project files, professional papers, drawings, architecture models, and photographs of Freeland projects. So those are kind of like the big 5 categories, and there's a bunch of materials under those categories that really pertain to that, right? And these next parts are on all the collection guides, so how to access the collection, how to use the materials, and if you need to cite this material in like a paper or presentation and whatnot. It's a quick idea, but always it's a good idea to just consult us on how to properly cite our materials if you're not 100% sure. And then also how the material was acquired, right? So this was a gift by Phil Freeland himself in 2015. And this is really cool processing information, right? So how were the materials processed, or who processed them, or like for what reasons? So one of the first things that I did when I first worked here at NC State was to process and update new additions to this collection. So you can see here, finding aid updated by me because of additional processing, and that happened in November of 2019. It looks like Philip added the Born Digital processing in November 2019 as well too. And Born Digital means a digital material, right? That was actually the original material. So it wasn't something that was originally physical and then digitized, right? It was digital to begin with, and that's why it's called Born Digital. Okay, and the next tab is the contents, and again, kind of similar to a lot of the materials we already covered beforehand, but it does a more specified way of providing, showing you what materials exist. So for example, under the projects files, you can see all the individual materials that are under the project files and then the corresponding locations. So you can see here, for example, the Devonshire Elementary School editions is in box 36, folder 17. So within every box, right, there are folders, and in those folders are the materials, for example. So, and this is a huge collection, right? So this list goes, if I can find my mouse, it's quite a long list, as you can see. So you really can, spend a whole day probably just, doing archival research. And let me just say too, like archival research, at least for me, since I work with archives, I'm a special collections librarian, is that part of the fun is really like detective work. I mean, it takes time, right, to actually do archival research. It's not like Google, or where you can just type in something and boom, you have something right away, right? Some of the things, however they're processed or housed or organized, right? It still takes a little bit of like detective work, I like to think of. So to make sure, kind of like, so you'll have to like put on your detective hat and sort of like sift through and kind of dig through the archives and things like that. And I think it's fun. Some people might find it frustrating, but if you want to find certain stuff, then that's what it takes. So why not have fun with it? And then in the names and subject, these are like the subject headings or keywords that pertains to specific collections. So for this one, you'll see here like all the names that are related to, in some way or another, to Philip Freeland. So within the collection, these names will appear, or do appear. Next is also subjects, so anything dealing with art and architecture design, African American architects, term, etc. You'll most likely find those things within this collection as well. And every collection guide also has this using these materials tabs. So a lot of the things I covered before, like if you want to know how to access materials, what you need to do in order to access the material. So for example, here it says this collection is open, right, for research, and not all collections are open, right? There are some, you may run into some restricted files, and that's for for whatever reason, right? Whether the donor didn't want that to be readily available to the public, or there's probably some sensitive information that the donor does not want the public to access and things like that. So that's access to the collection area will give you some hints or some information about that specific collection. And then here it says make sure it takes at least 48 hours advance notice for us to actually get your request, process it. Then when somebody has to actually go to the storage site, located it, right, load it in, properly pack it in a specific way, and then ship it back to their reading room to get that ready. So there's a lot of process and a lot of time and people and labor that takes place in order to get these materials readily available to our users, right? I know sometimes it might feel like, you just click a button and it magically appears, but there's a lot of work and labor and time that really takes place to actually get that to you. So shout out to all the people who are making sure that works and getting those materials to you in a timely manner. And looks like, let me see anything else. That's it, in the copyright information and things like that. So yeah, so this is what the typical collection guide looks like. Let's do another keyword. Let's do, I'll type in insects, just because, entomology. And you can see here, we have lots of examples here as well too. Let's say within this insects keyword, you're particularly interested in materials between 1970 and 1979, and that of course reduces the search, or kind of zero ins on that particular term. So you see, we had 4 pages of results. Now we have 2, which is helpful when you're looking at that, right? So let's see, 1970s, photographs and slides, pretty cool. Let me see if there's anything interesting. Insect survey notes. Let's click on the first one. North Carolina Cooperative Extension. You'll see here again, look at 67 cartons, 103 cardboards, 9 flat boxes. And I'm just curious. Okay, samples, biographies, web content, clinical lab. Okay, and this one's open to breaches. So you get the idea of how the collection guides work, and I'll come back to this too if anybody has any questions about that. Okay, so next is one of my favorites is the digitized collections, and we saw earlier about the rare and unique digital collections. And okay, so one scenario, let's say you're just browsing and you just want to get familiar with the digitized collections, and say, okay, you know what? I have a grandfather who is also an NC State alum, so let me take a look at the yearbooks here to see if I can find him. So click on the AgriMech yearbooks, and if you don't know, the AgriMech is the university's yearbook. And so here are the results. You see that there is 102 results for this search word, or this keyword. It says right here to 102. And let's say you know that your grandfather came here in the 70s. Let's say 70s. And then here are all the AgriMech yearbooks in the 70s. But you can, I think right now, it's in order. Oh no, it's not. So you see here, it looks like it's in order, but then when you scroll down to the very bottom, here's one from 1976. So here's where the facets come into play, right? So let's say, what's the order? Where is the order? 1970 format. Subject, there's 10 here. Oh, I guess, let me see. Hold on. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go back. You can put this decades things in order. So it's numerical. There, numerical. 1970s. Okay, so I guess this isn't, but it helps out. Looks like when you select the decade, it doesn't put in chronological order, but it's easier to find now. Okay, and since they're all the same, the format and original format is going to be the same as well too. So let's say, I think, I'm just going to click on the 77 and 78 just because it's cool. Okay, so when you click on a digitized material, it will take you to this platform or this viewer. And you'll see the title of this material, which is AgriMech 1977 to 78. You'll see the viewer here. You can zoom in, zoom out. It's these are all really high res images that does a really great job of providing to really look at things. Right? So one of the cool things about digitizing materials is that with the naked eye, sometimes you might miss something, but when you digitize something, you really blow up the image and get really close and kind of look at the really small details, right? And then just before we get into more about that, let me just give you how the components of this d.lib viewer. So this is what we call the metadata, right? So the first section is the item information. Again, here's the title, here are the topics that relates to the material, the subjects that pertain to the material we're looking at, format, things like that. So this was created in 1978. The description here is student yearbook, etc., etc. Location, Raleigh. The source information, so basically where is it? Where it's housed here in special collections. Here's the collection name. Any field notes will go here. Copyright stuff and things like that is all there as well too. So you can always look at that. And then when you scroll a little bit further down, there's explore other resources. So this is a section where it's kind of like items, or if you're again familiar with online shopping, it's like if you like this, maybe perhaps you might also like these things. So then it'll give you things that may or may not relate to the thing you're looking at, right? All right, so let's say you're looking at this viewer, this agromech. So on here on the left hand side, you can really click on the individual pages, and right now it's on 2 pages, but if you come up here, you can easily make that into a 1 page. If you want to look at it one at a time, you can make it into a 2-page layout, and you could easily make it into if you want to get a macro look at all the pages at once, you can do that as well too. And you can also click the arrows to go to the next page, etc. And you can even come here and type in a page number. Oops, if I can type in there if it want to work. Oh, there it goes. Page 50. And it'll take you there, right? And all of our digitized materials on this icon right here, you can actually click there and you can download the image. Again, it's pretty high res, pretty good image quality to just download. But if you ever need a higher resolution of image, just contact us and we'll let you know how kind of help you with that, right? And of course, there's printing or fees and all that kind of digitizing fees and things like that if it's not already digitized. But anyhow, that's there. I'm gonna close out of there. And also here is a hyperlink to if you want to put it on a blog or put it on online if you're doing a presentation, or if you want to cite this information in a paper or something or presentation. And also if you want to if you want to embed the code into a website, and of course you can change it by image size as well too. So those 2 icons really helpful. And then one of the cool things is keyword search within the digitized materials. So let's say, okay, I don't know, I had a grandfather named Adam. So let's type in the word Adam to look into this particular image to see the number of times it comes up. It looks like the word Adam comes in once in this yearbook. So just click on that upside down raindrop or teardrop, however you want to look at it. And then it's going to be in blue, and sometimes it's kind of hard to see. So what you want to do is kind of blow up, and you can see here that the machine has identified and found the word Adam, and of course this is Adams for this page. So it looks like it's the second person, so this person right here. And the last name is Adams. This keyword search within the document is not perfect, right? It's not 100%. As you saw here, I typed in the word Adam, but this person's last name is Adams. So it'll look for anything that has that particular word in there, or that's close to it. Sometimes it might not even find the actual thing you're looking for. But trial and error, and it's better than kind of sifting through one page at a time, right? Let's see, what's another cool thing? I'll type in the word wolf because we're at the wolf pack. Let's see how many times. Oh, only once. So, and you can see here it's going to be in blue, so we know that it's going to be on the right page, right? So somewhere here, and we can see here that it has correctly identified the word wolf in the yearbook right here. So again, kind of cool little Control F capacity that you can use for our digitized materials. And also, if you click on more information here too, this information is below in the item information, but this information is also available here and by these little double arrows as well. So I'm going to go back again to the landing page of the digital collection, and let's say I want to take a look at images again. What time is it? 12:24. Okay, let's actually take a look at wolf tails, which is pretty cool. So wolf tales is a version of an oral history. If you're not familiar with oral histories, it's basically collecting stories from the primary source or from the individual, right? So we collect stories from people to kind of tell about whatever topic that's at hand. Usually, like a traditional longhand oral history is sort of for example, if I'm the interviewer, I would be interviewing someone and asking them questions. One of the cool things about wolf tales is that the subjects get to kind of pick their own topics and questions they want to ask themselves, and they get to sort of they're in control, and they really have the autonomy to kind of really talk about whatever topic they want to. And also, wolf tales is also short form, so instead of an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, right? You'll see all of our clips are 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute, right? Because they're really short versions of it, and they're audio visual. Not only is it just the audio recording, but you also have the visual as well too. Let's take a look. And usually it ranges up to 10 to 15 minutes at most. And also it's pretty cool because you can, if you're kind of shy about doing an oral history on your own, you can get a friend, family member, anybody, and kind of do it together. The most I believe we can do is 3. So that's one of the cool things. So if you click on this digitized material, which is an audio-visual material, again, same format, you'll see the title information in here, item information, the description. The description here is much longer compared to the other materials we looked at, right? Which is really cool. And our colleague Virginia is really the lead on our virtual wolf tales, and really does a great job of really gathering as much information as possible. So this is pretty cool because you don't really need to download a software or anything. It's ready to go as is. So just come here and click play, and it should get going, right? And you can change, of course, the size, there's caption and things like that. So it's really cool. I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but you get the gist. And you can download it. You can also download the text transcript, and you could also share it with and especially if you're using oral history as a teaching tool, right? Kind of teaching it as a part of your class. And let me see. So speaking of wolf tales, let me actually click on some. So in order to get to wolf tales, really cool. You can just Google NCSU wolf tales. Hopefully it'll just pop up. Awesome. Okay, cool. So this is the web page for wolf tales, capturing the voices of the pack. It is a cool 2-minute trailer. So if you want to if you're a faculty member, or maybe you want to do this for your student org, if you're part of a student organization, you want to capture your org's history and members, and you want to preserve that story, this is probably a cool way to do that, and kind of maybe show your members this trailer and how that works. and you can actually click here, and you can, we looked at this earlier. It just takes you to all the wolf tales that are available in our collections. And also, if you want to share your story, we just recently launched virtual wolf tales, and the pandemic with coronavirus really was sort of a nice push for us. We've been meaning to create a virtual version of this, but the COVID pandemic really was like a major catalyst for us to actually get that up and running. So we've done that, and so you can now record your own wolf tales and submit that to us for us to preserve here in our collections. And here are just some prompts, like suggestions, right? You don't have to answer these questions. You can come up with your own questions or use these questions as sort of a starting point. And it really kind of shows you how to record your stories, right? And then any questions you might have. So we have a really great and robust FAQ section. So, why you should record, can you record with the family and friends, does everything get accepted, etc. So take a look at that FAQ as well. And all you do, once you've followed all those steps and stuff, click on submit your video, and then gives you other steps on how to do all that. So we're really excited about this launching, and we hope that you consider, adding your voice and your story and your narrative to the campus history. And one of the beautiful things about Wolf Tales is that it's really sort of our attempt to really recoup sort of like the silences and archives that exist in the special collections or the archives now, right? So when it comes to the stories and lives and narratives of historically marginalized communities here on campus and even our surrounding communities, we don't really have that much materials pertaining to them. So this is one way that we're trying to really to recoup and collect and really preserve that for our current and future researchers to kind of really be able to kind of take a look at that, right, and kind of see how life was in 2022 or during the pandemic or whatever like that. So this will be there and on and going. One of the and let me actually drop that in the chat as well too. Make sure I got it right. So that's the Wolf Tales. One of the recently cool projects that we also launched. Let me see. Just Google it. Let's see. Did I do that right? Nope. Let me see. Oh wait, I have it. Oh, yeah, I did have it. Okay, reparative archival descriptions. So historically, we've talked about the finding aids earlier, collection guides. The ways in which library employees have described our materials have been problematic or harmful to those specific members that are represented in the communities, right? And particularly, again, to marginalized and underrepresented communities. And we've taken the initiative to center our ongoing efforts around what's called reparative archival descriptions. Some places also call it conscious editing. UNC Chapel Hill has it's dedicated to conscious editing, and numerous special collections in the archive within the UNC system have already like sort of reparative descriptions or conscious editing efforts to their materials and their collections, right? And so basically, what we're doing is we're sort of like taking a look and re-examining how we describe certain materials and how we're describing people in particular, for different communities, and making sure that we are using terms and concepts that's actually used by those particular communities that we're representing. So, for example, there are a variety of Native American tribes and states in the United States, for example, and we want to make sure that we don't sort of use one blanket term to describe all different Native American groups. Right? We want to be very specific, and we also want to use the terms and descriptions that they want to be described as. So we're really centering again the community's needs and how we're representing them in our collections, and obviously, there is this campus has been around since the late 20th century, right? So we have lots of materials throughout the ages, and we cannot possibly find every single instances of harmful language. So we invite our community members, researchers, if they come across a harmful description or a term in any of our discovery platforms or digital platforms, right, whether it's the collection guides or historical timelines, which we'll get to, or digitized collections, please reach out to us and let us know, and then we will making sure it goes through that vetting process, and we'll definitely update those. One thing I wanted to make sure that folks don't confuse this with is like censoring and like censorship, right? We are not touching the historical or original materials, right? That's not our goal. What we want to do is, like, if there's something problematic and if it's something that was created by a library employee, we'll update it. If not, we will just provide more context as to how we're proceeding to use a particular term. So, for example, let's see. Oh yeah, like the word slaves. How black people in the United States were referred to as slaves. And so we're not going to use the term slave. We're going to use like formerly enslaved in order to like humanize a person, right? People aren't born as slaves, right? They're born into slavery because of the social political atmosphere of the times. So those are some examples of what we will do, or what you'll find in our collection guides. So you can find more information about that. Let me see here. What else am I touching on? Hotels. Oh yeah, so the historical timelines that I mentioned earlier here. If you are interested in NC State history, and you don't know where to start, this is a really great place. You can also just Google NCSU historical state timeline, and you can find it that way. Here it is, NCSU timeline, historical state, and I'll take you to this page. And this is pretty cool because it is divvied up by different categories and topics. From you can see here. Let's see, chancellors and presidents, Asian and Asian American community. We recently have subgroups of anything pertaining to athletics. So this one's men's swimming and diving, NC State's land grant history, all the student and body presidents in NC State history, student life, women, for example. Let's click on women. And so let me zoom in here if I can find the mouse. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. All right, so you can see this is chronological, and you have both text and images here on documents. And then you can just scroll down and take a look and say, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's really interesting, really cool. I mean, it is all interesting, really important, cool information. Don't mean to like brush it off or anything. And let's say, for example, you were interested, the first sorority at NC State, Gamma Phi chapter of Sigma Kappa sorority, was established in 1959. And there happens to be an image that corresponds to that. So if you actually click on that image, it'll take you to that image finder in the digital collections that I showed you earlier. And this is a really great photograph, and again, high res. You can zoom in and actually see people's faces. Maybe this is someone's relatives or something. So you can do that, which is really cool about the historical site timeline. So again, really great ways to really access special collections right through various entry points, and it can really just take you to different materials, but it's all connected. Kathy Sterling was the first woman student body president. So if you click on her image, it'll take you to her photograph. And then if you're interested in Kathy Sterling, you can just go to her name here, Kathy Sterling, and it'll take you to all the things that relate to her. So you can see we have some oral history, we have lots of images, and things like that. So that's pretty cool. So that is the historical state timeline. And again, let me just go back to that really quickly. Wolf test. Okay, and then I'm going to wrap it up soon. So that's the historical state timeline. And if you want to contact us, again, there's a contact button here. Please contact Special Collections, and it should take you there. So, all right, everybody, I think that just about covers our Special Collections website and all the terrific online resources that we have available for you. Again, collection guides and digitized collections, a really great start, great place to start. And then, of course, pro tip again, these blogs are the most current, updated information on current projects and any new additions and processing and stuff. So take a look at that at your leisure. So thank you all very much for tuning in. Again, my name is Victor Betts. I am the Student Success Librarian for Special Collections. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with us. There's our information right there. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.